Okay, so this is the third unit. You people might be confused because two teachers are taking, so units might be jumbled up. But don't worry about that. Just focus on the topic of the unit, which is feedback in communication. We have studied communication in last two to three units as well. In the first one, we learned the basics of communication, what do we mean by communication, and then the difference between technical and general. Then we went on to barriers, and then from there listening. And today what we are going to study is a kind of extension to all that. The process which we studied in the first one, where sender and receiver they are involved, the same kind of thing is going to happen here as well. But here we will learn how to give feedback, and what are the points, if we keep them while giving feedback, we can improve our feedback. And at the same time, what are the characteristics? So let's look into the contents. What are the subtopics we are going to cover in this unit? First one is meaning and nature. We are going to look into the definition and all. Then a two-way process. We know how communication process works, so again a kind of repetition or revision is there. Characteristics of feedback, kinds of feedback, and then the two ways in which feedback can be provided, oral and written, effects of feedback, improving feedback, finally developing effective feedback skills and feedback loop. This is a lengthy unit, especially because we have a case study also. BFIR, I have not written it here, but there are methods through which we give feedback, and these two methods are called sandwich method and BFIR. So we are going to look into those methods, and then we have 1 to 2 case studies as well. So I guess I'll take at least 2 lectures to finish that. Let's start the class today. If we look into the meaning of feedback, so we know that when we are involved in a communication process, the effect or output of this first process is modified by the next action. Let me rephrase it. What happens when we send the first message? Let's look into this picture. First one, it is simple. It is as simple as it was in the first unit. You can see that we have two parties here as well. First one is called sender, the other one is called receiver. So what happens when someone sends a message and they receive the reply of that message? This reply, response or reaction, this is called our feedback. And it is very important to understand the effectiveness of the first message which was sent by the sender. And this is what we have written here. We have written here in the first line. It is the process in which the effect or output of an action is returned to modify the next action. So if you look at the picture, you will find out that there was first transmission. It was like there was some kind of messaging. They have sent a message, the other person received the message, and either it can be a negative response or positive response. Okay, so there are two ways. Or it can be a question as well, so there can be modification, there can be clarification, they can ask for more questions, they can ask for more explanation. So on the basis of how the first one is being accepted, or the first one is decoded, the second action depends on the first action. Okay, so it is returned to modify the next action. Second one is feedback is your audience's response. It enables you to evaluate the effectiveness of your message. So when you send a message and you do not get a response, you are sitting there, imagining thing or wondering how the other person has received the message. So when you receive a response, this thing gets over. You have a definite response. Now you can evaluate in which sense this message which you sent was taken by the receiver. You can find out whether it was effective or ineffective, was it successful or it was unsuccessful. It all depends when you receive a response. Otherwise, if it is a one-way communication, we have no way to find out whether it was a successful message or unsuccessful message. Third one is, if your audience does not understand what you mean, you can tell by the response and refine the message accordingly. So how do we do this? If you understand that the other person has not understood it, the kind of question you get in the reply, the kind of reply you receive, on the basis of that, you get this feeling that where the other person is stuck, what is that problem which he is facing. It's just like we have homophones and we have several words which are open to 2 or 3 meanings. So if you tell someone a thing and there he is he faces a kind of confusion, he can ask you for the clarification. Now you understand that where he has misinterpreted the message, and with the help of this particular response, you can refine your message. You can tell them in which context you have used that term and how it will change the meaning of the message, and how this misunderstanding can be removed on the basis of what you received, the response. Okay, so this is why in this feedback is very important, and it always helps in clarifying the message. The effectiveness of your message is always enhanced with the help of feedback. So let's look at this picture more closely. We have two parties, sender and receiver. What happens? They encode messages and they decode messages according to 3 terms. Okay, you can see in we have 3 boxes in each party. The middle box says on both the sides attitude, experience, and perception. So this depends. The sender, he will encode the message according to his attitude. Whatever attitude he has, he can have a positive attitude, a negative attitude. Experience, how much experience he has in the field, or about the conversation which he is going to carry out. So according to the experience and perception, how he perceives things. Okay, according to these 3 things, he will prepare a message, he will encode a message, and through the choice of his medium, verbal, non-verbal, written, oral, he will transmit this message. Now it's in the side of receiver, he again will apply the same 3 things. His own attitude. It can be like today I asked you that whether you can have a class, extra class or not. So it was my opinion that all of you will be eager to have a lecture, because we have missed 2 lectures. You people must be concerned, and when will our syllabus be over, when will we be able to revise and learn things. So it was my perception, and as I have been teaching students, this is my experience as well, and I have a positive attitude towards it. Now when I sent it to you, you people applied your own attitude, experience, and perception. You could have thought, okay, it was a week off. Even then, ma'am is asking us to sit here. Okay, you people are new. You have only 1 semester's experience, so you might have thought that we can always do it later. There was no need to waste our holiday today, and you could have a negative attitude as well. But as you people are present here, I can see that my message was taken positively in the same perspective as I intended, and I have got this response or reaction by looking at the your attendance. How many people have turned up for this lecture. I can see that how many out of you have taken it in the positive way and how many have taken it in the negative way. So this feedback, it is going to give me a kind of experience again that if I keep a lecture on holidays, what kind of response I'm going to get. Okay. Can you listen to me? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and now this has become a nightmare for teachers that we keep on talking and we get disconnected, so I don't want to do that. Okay, so what I'm saying that feedback in this communication loop, feedback is very important, and it is not always verbal. Sometimes it's non-verbal as well, and on the basis of this, we correct our actions. Our next actions are based on our experience or our experience of getting your response. The kind of response I have received today, I might not be willing to take another lecture on a weekday. But then I know that throughout the weekdays, you people are, overburdened. So it's better that on a week off, you spare 1 hour, and that is easier for you. Okay, so now look at this. We all know that when it is two-way process, then only we get a feedback. If it is a one-way process, it's just like announcements on railway stations, on your airports. They are announcements. They keep on announcing things. People, they fall into the ears of people, and they interpret and react according to their own wish. So the person who is making the announcement, they do not get any feedback, or at least any immediate feedback there. It might be like a flight is about to leave and only one passenger is lost, or has not reported. So if they make up an announcement and then he turns up, so they will get a feedback there. But generally when announcements are concerned, notices are there, policies are there, rules are there, so they are one way. They just announce it, you are supposed to follow them. But when we talk about feedback, it is always a two-way process. So why is it so important? Because if you want to evaluate that, evaluate the effectiveness of your communication, if you want the other person to understand your message in the same perspective, in the same accurate meaning as you intended, you need feedback there. Let's read what is written here. Feedback plays important role in two-way communication. In one-way communication, sender communicates with the receiver without getting any feedback. But in two-way communication, receiver provides feedback to the sender. Though one-way communication takes less time and is more orderly because it avoids noise and chaos, feedback in two-way communication makes it more accurate and precise. It's just like if I record this lecture. I record this lecture and I upload it on YouTube, and I ask you, whenever you get time, go and watch the lecture from this channel. So do you think it will be easier, or it will be effective, more effective than what we are doing right now? Do you think so?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because then you will not get a feedback.
And you people?
And if we get any doubt, we will not be able to get that solved, I think.
Yes, you, even if you get a solution, it will take time. Whenever you get time, you will watch the lecture, then you will type your question there. Then whenever I'll get time, I'll go back and I'll check, then I'll give the answer. That answer might not be satisfactory, then you will ask another question. So what will happen? This is to, even if it is two-way communication, it will not be very, very effective. And this is why, face-to-face communication, or the communication where immediate feedback is possible, that becomes more easy and more accurate as well, because we have chances to clarify things. Whenever there is a doubt, whenever there is a query, we can give back the answer, and through certain exchanges of question and answer, we can make it more clear for both the parties. And this is why it is said that feedback is, it is a two-way process where two parties are involved, and they can communicate with each other, and in this way what happens? Although one-way communication takes less time because two parties are not involved, one has a duty, they announce something and they left. But when two people are involved and they are in a communication situation where feedback can be immediately given to each other, then we can communicate it more accurately and more precisely. Okay, so these are the characteristics. These characteristics, they are. Yes.
Is answer a feedback?
Is answer or feedback? It depends. The other party is ready to ask, listen to it. Are they in need of that information? If someone is in need of that information, then it will be a feedback. So yes, answers are responses, they are replies, they are feedback. If I have asked the question and I get the answer, that is a feedback.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so these characteristics which we are going to discuss, we have two slides. I'm not going to discuss the second one in detail, because if you look at the first part of this, effective feedback, this is what we have included here. But certain times in exams, they ask you to give this effective and ineffective. So this is why I have included two slides. But we are going to discuss this whole in the first slide only. Okay, how these characteristics are effective and what are the negative elements which, if we practice, they can make these feedback ineffective. Okay, so one by one we are going to look into this, these characteristics of feedback. So whenever when we are talking about feedback, we are talking about in general, especially when we are in a working situation or condition, when organizational communication is involved, when you are a worker and there, as a subordinate or as a senior, you are supposed to take or give feedback. So what happens? First is, when any feedback is given, they check the intention. So when we say that it is an effective feedback, the intention should be, it should be, it should be aimed towards how the other person who will receive the feedback, he is going to improve his performance. Okay, it should not be to criticize someone, it should not be to personally attack someone. Rather, when we talk about feedback, it should be well intended, so that it can contribute in some manner that the person who is receiving it, they can improve their performance there. Okay, so the thing is, it should not be biased, it should not be ill intention. You should not have any bad intention of insulting someone or making any personal attack just because you don't like that person, so you keep on criticizing them. Then it will be ineffective feedback, because the other person in due course of time will understand that you are a biased person, and there will be no genuinity as well. Okay, so intentions are very important. When we talk about feedback, the intention should be to help someone in improving their job performance. Second one is specificity. So it's just like you get a chance to, you get a chance to find out that one of your employees is late. So you tell him that you are not a good employee. Now what is happening here? You are being too general. That person who was late by 5 minutes and he was not in his on his desk, you happen to be there and you made a comment that you are not a good employee. Now that employee is wondering there, what has he done wrong to be a bad employee? Because once or twice, anyone can be late. So when you are giving this kind of feedback, you should be very, very careful. Telling someone that they are poor employees and their work is ineffective, or they are useless, they are worthless, these kind of things only demotivate the person. They are not going to get anything from your feedback. So rather than this, if you be specific, if you tell someone that, okay, I have been looking this, or I have been observing this, that you report for work always late. So now this person has his own, chances to explain why he got late, how many times he got late, or is he definite, in reality, if he is facing any problem, he can even share that with you. Or if it is his fault, he would understand that you have found out. So being specific while giving any feedback is very, very important, rather than giving general comments to someone that, okay, you are not a good employee. He might be a person who always follows his deadlines. He might be a person who has brought a lot of business to the organization. So when you criticize someone just because they are late for their effectiveness, then it is going to create a lot of problem there. Okay, so specificity is very, very important. Third one is description. It is just like when you give someone any feedback, rather than being evaluative. Try to understand it. People get confused between specificity and description. When we say specificity, it means you should not be general, you should be specific. What is that particular thing about which you are giving feedback? And when we are saying be descriptive, it is like don't be evaluative. Do not evaluate someone's effectiveness, rather than tell them exactly what is that problem which you are facing with them. Okay, so it may happen, you want to tell someone that the way they are working, you need improvement in that. Okay, it can happen that you find out that there is a person who is involved in your project, and whenever you tell them to sit with their team and find out a solution, you think that he is unable to do that. Okay, so now what is the problem he is facing? He is having a communication problem. He is unable to have effective communication. So how you are going to give the feedback to that person? You can tell them that you were looking for a solution while this person has failed to do that, and because of his failure in this particular task, how the project is going to, how is this project is going to suffer. But if you tell them that, okay, I might have done it better, or if I give you, I have checked your communication skills, the way you communicate with people, I don't think you will be beneficial for my project. Next time I am not going to keep you in my team. So this is what is this? This is evaluative. You have evaluated their performance, rather than giving them the description why they failed or what they can do to improve that situation or condition. You have given them, a kind of result there. You have given them a kind of thread there, that the way they are working, it is going to be difficult for them in future. So rather than being evaluative and how they worked and how it ruined the situation, tell them where the problem lies and how they can remove that problem and improve their effectiveness. And this is why we generally say that when it is feedback, we should be descriptive rather than evaluative. Clear? Is this one clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the fourth one is usefulness. So what do we mean by usefulness? Okay, suppose you have you work in an organization which is facing shortage of staff. There are not too many people who are working there due to some layoffs or something, strikes. There are very few people who are working there. Now you have a project um, in hand, and you make a team of 2 people, and they are working day and night. Even then they are unable to meet the deadlines. If you tell these people that the way they are working, they will not be able to finish their jobs or the project. So what kind of feedback this will be? Is it going to be useful for them? You already know that you are short in staff, you don't have enough people to work quickly, or if the project is a big one, they are unable to finish it on time due to shortage of staff. So when you are giving feedback, telling someone something which is going to be useless for them is not required. If you think they can use your feedback for something, your feedback is going to improve their performance, then giving that feedback is okay. Otherwise it is no point of telling someone the things which are out of their control. These people, two people who are working already 24/7, if you tell them that they are slow or they are not competent, they are unable to finish the project, they will feel demotivated. They will even feel leaving the organization and working at some place where there is ample amount of people. The workforce is large enough so that they can take breaks. A person who is already overworking, if he gets criticized, they will feel demotivated. They will feel that they are not valued here. So rather than giving these kind of feedback, we should always analyze what we are going to tell the other person. Is that person in capacity to remove that? Telling someone, it's just like if you tell your employees that the kind of work they are doing, that is not good. So if it is related to their performance, they are going to improve it. But if it is related to something on the basis of resources which they receive from the organization, they have no control over it, so they will receive the same kind of thing, so it will be useless for them. Okay, so effective feedback is always useful. That is the main point here, that effective feedback is always useful. Next is timeliness. So what do we mean by timeliness? Anyone? When we say that, whenever you give feedback to someone, it should be timely. So what do we mean by timely? No idea. Okay, see, when we talk about,
Short.
sorry, Bharat.
Timeliness means it should be short, not much long.
In duration?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, that was a good
Ma'am,
effort.
it is in certain time limit.
Yes, that is correct, Abhishek. What we are trying to tell you here, that whenever we give feedback to someone, the more quick it is, more effective it is. It means if I'm discussing something, teachers also feel this way, that if I'm discussing a topic right now, and if you ask a question related to it right now, I'll be, it will be more effective. It will be more easy for me to answer it right now, rather than after two lectures, if you remind me about this and then you ask something. So I will not be able to give that apt answer as I can do right now. So in the same manner, the quicker the response, the quicker the feedback, the better it is. They always believe that if you have any feedback about any action, you should give it then and there only. Again, when we say timeliness, it is not only limited to this thing that it should be quicker. We have to evaluate the situation. There can be times when they cannot be called well timed. It's just like someone who has met an accident, and you go and tell him that you have lost your job as well. So can we call it well timed? Can we call it timely? No, this cannot be called timely here. Rather, if even if you have any information about these kind of things, you should withhold the information. You should try to find the correct timing when you can reveal this information to that person, so that that person can observe it properly. So this is what timeliness is. There are places when people get overwhelmed because of too much information. So it's not always that quicker the response, the better it is. It is well timed when you can watch and analyze whether this is the proper time to reveal the information or not. So timeliness is very important when we talk about feedback. You should always judge, you should always evaluate, and then reveal the information or give the feedback to that person. Next is readiness. So what do we mean by readiness? Readiness means the person who is going to get the feedback, they should be open to this feedback. If they are not ready, they will not take the feedback. Although it is, here when we talk about this readiness, we have to depend on both the parties. The person who is giving the feedback is not in control, person who is receiving has better control over this situation. So there are places when people are not ready to take the feedback. Repeatedly teachers tell you, don't do this, don't talk in the class. Okay, right now you people don't talk at all. So we keep asking you, why don't you reply? You should reply whenever we ask something, but you people are not ready to take that suggestion. So in the same manner, there are times when people are not ready to take the feedback, especially when it is negative feedback. When you tell someone that they are creating problems or they are having problems, so you have to be very tactful here. You should not try to impose your opinion on someone. Rather, if you support it with facts and evidences, then it is better, and then maybe they will accept it in a better way. But the thing is, feedback will fall flat if there is no readiness. So it is important from the point of view of the receiver that they are ready to take the feedback. Seventh is clarity. So when we talk about clarity, it means, when you are giving the feedback, it should be clear to the recipient. They should understand it properly. So what happens, just like, when we teachers, we teach you something, when we discuss something with you, we keep asking questions so that we can find out whether you understood it or not. So in the same manner, if you want to find out whether your message was clear, your feedback was clear or not, you can also ask the other person to explain the points, or you can ask them to repeat the points, so that you can find out whether they are clear with your message or not. The main thing is, do not use ambiguous words, which we have discussed earlier. All the barriers which we have discussed, they can be applied here while we are giving feedback. We should try to avoid those so that there is no confusion and the feedback is clear to them. Finally, validity. So when we say validity, we are talking about the genuinity, the accuracy. So when you give feedback, especially when you are giving negative feedback to someone, be very, very careful, be conscious that whatever you are, telling that person, it should be based on some facts. It should not be allegation. It should not be only biasness. Because if you are making any kind of accusation to someone and you fail to prove it, they can even, they can take actions against you even there, because then they have chances to prove that you are being biased there, you don't have the correct information. Rather than, what will happen, they can easily prove that you are incorrect, you had no information about it. So validity, if you want to have validity in your feedback, you should first check the source from where you have got the information. Is that source authentic? Do you have evidences to prove your allegations? And only then you should make this move of accusing someone of something. Okay, so this is generally for negative feedback, but When you are in superior position or even in subordinate position, there are times which demand that you have to confront people. Okay, so whenever you go for these, you should try to include these points in your feedback so that you can create an effective feedback there. Okay, so these are the characteristics, 8 characteristics. If you people have any query, you can ask me. Okay, let me revise it for you very quickly. So if it is a good feedback, it is intended to help the employee. If it is bad one, it will be intending to belittle, to insult the other employee. If it is specific, you are going to tell them, pinpoint what is the problem. And if it is bad feedback, you will give it generally. Okay, you don't tell them what is the specific problem, rather than you condemn them there. If it is a good one, it will be descriptive, how they can use your suggestion, how they can improve their condition, rather than evaluative, that your performance is not good or you are a 0 or something. So these kind of things should not be done. It should be useful, it should not be inappropriate, it should be timely, not untimely. Employees readiness is important, and if he is not ready and you keep on making allegations, they will become defensive. They will try their level best to prove you wrong there. Clear means it is worded so in a way that people are able to understand everything said there. Not understandable, it means in roundabout manner, in vague terms, so that they are unable to understand it. Finally, valid, it should have evidences, it should be accurate. If it is inaccurate, it will become bad or ineffective feedback. Okay, so this one is important, that can be asked in the exam. Just note it down, that you need to understand the difference between effective and ineffective feedback. Shall I move to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so positive feedback and negative feedback, there are two kinds of feedback. You can understand it when we say positive feedback, it is given promptly with interest in it. So it can be understood on two levels. First one is when we say positive, from the point of view of the recipient, it means it has something good in it, the message is good, then it is called positive feedback. And if we look at this from the point of view of the sender, it is objective, it is related to an aim. So whenever they are giving positive feedback, they have interest in giving it, and it is going to be beneficial for the employee. And the employee is ready to take this one, because from his point of view, this is something positive, they have done something good and they are being appreciated for that. So it obviously becomes positive feedback. And here what happens, people are always ready to take these kind of feedback. If I keep appreciating you, if I keep praising you, why will you face any problem? Okay, so that will be called positive feedback. But the real problem arises when it is negative feedback. What happens here? People are defensive. There is some kind of resistance, some degree of unwillingness in accepting it. Why does this happen? Because no one likes to be criticized. They always feel that whatever they are doing is sufficient, they are doing their best. And even then, if they get, or if they receive something which is negative, which is intended to criticize them, then they become defensive and they do not accept it very easily. And this is where it gets very tricky. Giving someone a negative feedback is very tricky. And what happens, it is generally not accepted until it is given by someone, it is given by someone who is senior, who is someone who is revered by everyone, who is respected by everyone. So this is generally done by the administration. that when they have to give negative feedback to someone, they choose people who are in senior position, they choose people who have good image, who have good rapport with others, and who are experienced in giving these kind of feedback. When it comes from someone who is respected by the person who is getting the response, the feedback, then there are chances that that person will take it without any resistance. Then they accept it that they are at fault and there should be some correction. Some correction should be made in their behavior or in their performance. So this is why giving negative feedback is very, very tricky. And generally it is if someone who is on your same level, if he tells you that you have made a mistake, you will feel defensive, you will be ready to argue with them. If there is possibility that that person will not be able to convince you where you are making the fault. So when there is a person who is senior to you, someone who is experienced than you, someone who can show you where you are at fault, then it is easier for the other person to accept the fault and see the fault, and they will also get information about how to improve the condition. Okay, so this is why they say that negative feedback is more difficult than positive feedback. Are these clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You people are
Yes,
studying
ma'am.
feedback, and even then there is no feedback. So now we are moving to the kinds of, in a way we can say modes of feedback. When we talk about oral communication, it is always easier to get feedback here. Why? Because most of the time when we talk, we discuss oral communication, it is face to face. And when you are in face to face communication, it is easier to give and receive the feedback. This is a known fact. Asking question, giving comment, or shouting, these are the examples how we give feedback in oral communication. So why it is easier? Because people, even if they are not face to face, they are on telephone. So with the help of those cues, those paralinguistic cues, when you see that the other person has fallen silent there, so you can understand that okay, he is not convinced by what I have said. So you can ask them that, do you want me to explain further? Or at least you can understand that the other person is baffled there, he is confused there. So if it is over telephone or if it is face to face, here also when you people do not give any reply, then we are concerned that you are getting it or not. So in the same manner, it happens here in face-to-face, in oral communication as well. It is easier because, when it is oral communication, people can understand when and where the person is stuck, when and where they need to explain it more, or, where they should ask more questions, so that certain times we ask you questions, teachers ask you questions, so that we can see where the confusion lies, and then we give the answer so that your understanding is clear. So in the same manner, when you are in a communication situation, like you are in business communication, you are making a call where you are pitching for a product, so you will have to understand where that hesitation in saying yes lies. So you will have to ask more questions to that party, to the buyer, and with the help of that you can make the things clear. Okay, so feedback in oral communication is always quicker, it is more easy as well, and it is because you can understand, you can see the facial expression, you can see the emotions. When you are in face to face class, most of the times teachers look at you and they understand, okay, you are unable to understand this, or you have some doubt, because of your facial expression. You don't even need to say it. Okay, certain times you're looking at your face, we can understand you are sleepy or you are tired. So how does this happen? We can look at you, we can, understand your emotions with the help of body language. There are several ways through which we can understand, what is the condition of this communication, where it is heading. Okay, so this is why feedback in oral communication is easier. Then we come to feedback in written communication. It is a bit difficult because we know it takes a lot of time. It's just like you want to sell a product. Now this is a kind of unsolicited communication. Here you have sent an offer to an existing client that you want to sell, or your company is launching something. Okay, so they'll receive the message. Now you are sitting there, you will have to wait for their response. Are they interested in the offer, or are they not? Now whatever happens, even if it is an email, it will take some time. Or if it is a physical mail, the regular mail where you have posted something, then you will have to wait for weeks. Even in email, quick responses are not easy. They will take their own time. They might have several messages to reply, and according to that, they will get their time, they'll decide. Again, when we talk about persuasive communication, because in business we have to persuade other people a lot, so it is not easy in written communication. Sending several replies and getting it in mail, it prolongs the procedure, and somehow people get demotivated in the middle of it. While if it is a face-to-face communication, like you are in a presentation where you are telling the other person that there is launch of a new project, you have chances to convince them more. Okay, if it is oral communication, people write things, and then they make phone calls, then they even go and have meetings with them. Why? Because it is easier to have feedback there, and with the help of that feedback they can have better results. Okay, so we have modes of communication here, oral and written both, but most of the time people prefer oral communication for feedback. So finally, this is the last slide we are going to discuss today. Effects of feedback. Feedback makes communication meaningful. We have seen it quite closely now, that if there is lack of feedback, we do not get the meaning. So if you want to get better understanding of your message, it is better to receive and give feedbacks. Second is, it sustains the communication process. Our next message generally is based on what we have received from the other person. It's not like, you tell someone that, okay, I'll come to your office tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and the other person says that I will not be able to meet you there, or I'll be absent tomorrow. So you cannot tell that person, at 10:30 I'll leave. This will make no sense. So how this communication process is sustained? It is sustained through the receiving of feedback. When he tells you that he will not be able, or he will be absent today, you can ask him to meet you the next day. Okay, so here this is a very simple example. The thing is that it sustains the communication process. The feedback lets it run smoothly there, if you are alert enough. Third one is, it tells communication is making sense or not. So it's just like if you tell someone that you have launched, like we receive those sales calls or the calls for loans, and we outrightly we tell them we are not interested. So they do not, even although some of them even then try to struggle, they try to convince you that this is going to be beneficial. But ultimately, without feedback, you cannot understand whether the communication has made sense or not. So to find out the effectiveness, we need feedback. Fourth one is, it helps to plan what one can say next. So yes, after receiving the response, you can create the next message, what you want to say next. If it is a positive one, you can explain your plan. If it is something negative, you can look for the options, the alternatives which are present with you. So it always helps you in planning what one can say next, or you can say next. So finally, it completes the whole process of communication. We know that if there is noise, if you do not get a reply, it's just like if I tell you that we'll have a lecture tomorrow and I do not get a yes, then it is useless. I just made an announcement. I am not sure whether you people will turn up or not. So in the same manner, whenever you are going in communication, like business communication, you have been with someone for like 1 hour, you had a presentation, you had a meeting, and finally they do not give you any reply and they leave. So you are in lurch there. You have no definite answer, and this communication process will become a fail. So without a feedback, the whole process of communication is not complete. When we say this, feedback can be negative and positive both. It can happen that you had a meeting and you had a presentation and even then you get rejected. Then the process is complete. You have got your response there. That can be a negative response, but that is a response. So feedback is there, and in this way your whole communication process will be completed. Are these clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So do you people have any query from the slides, any of the slides? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let's talk about tomorrow as well, because there is a festival. I don't want you people to, studies are important, but these are also important. Do you want to have a lecture tomorrow from 5 to 6, or we can keep it in on the next Saturday, 5 to 6?
Next Saturday, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Next.
Okay, is Naman present? Naman?
Yes, ma'am.
Naman, I think you made an announcement about tomorrow as well. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you will have to correct that. Okay, we'll have the next lecture on the
Okay,
next
ma'am.
Saturday, and do not give this timing to any other teacher. 5 to 6 is announced. We will have a lecture next week. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll continue in next lecture. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.